The year is 2007. You are 60 meters below the surface of West Texas, suspended on a metal walkway inside a living organism the size of a small county. You drove here this morning. You parked in a designated parking area with painted lines and a recycling station and a sign reminding you to carry out what you carry in. Because this is a national park. Because the government is involved. Because there is a ranger with a flat hat and a practiced smile, and a laminated brochure that describes what you are about to enter as a unique subterranean geological feature accessible via guided tour. Geological feature. That's the phrase Anodyne Industries and the National Park Service agreed on. Geological feature. Internally, Anodyne uses a different name, the Permian Basin Superorganism, a living entity of unknown origin, unknown age, and geological scale, something that has never been classified, never been fully mapped, and never, in the entire history of its operation, been asked whether it consented to the elevator shaft. The thing you are currently standing inside is alive. It has been alive for longer than your species has existed. It has a circulatory system, a digestive system, a muscular architecture, and an immune response. You are inside an animal. The elevator you came down in is 40 years old. The Permian Basin Superorganism is considerably older than that. Let's start from the beginning. Inside the visitor center, educational panels explaining the Permian Basin Superorganism's biological systems, using language that sounds scientific but is, in several cases, entirely invented by Anodyne's PR division. Acrylic preserved cross-sections of tissue in display cases, labeled with Latin-adjacent taxonomic names, a gift shop. Snow globes containing a viscous pale fluid meant to evoke the interior secretions. A children's book titled What Lives Below, featuring the organism depicted with a face, with a smile. You sign the liability waiver. The waiver is 8 pages. You read the first 2. Nobody reads page 7. Page 7 is where they got creative. Page 7 is where the phrase catastrophic substrate event appears, written in the same legal font as the section about not feeding wildlife. You sign it. You board the elevator. The cage descends. For 40 meters, the walls are reinforced steel and concrete, and everything feels like a theme park ride that happens to be underground. Then the reinforcement ends. The walls change. Concrete becomes tissue, dark pink-red, glistening, slightly translucent where the organic layer is thin enough to show structural movement behind it. The acoustic character of the shaft changes the moment you enter organic substrate. The temperature in the accessible tourist zones is approximately 32 degrees Celsius and climbing. Within 5 minutes of leaving the elevator, your clothes are damp through. The floor is metal grating suspended above the biological floor. Below the grating, fluids pool in the organic depressions, draining slowly or not draining depending on the day. The audio tour does not mention this. The National Park Service logo is on every sign. The federal government is involved. Rangers, certified zones, official oversight. Right? Wrong. By terms of the interagency agreement, the NPS has no operational authority below the visitor center floor level. Everything below belongs to Anodyne Industries. The ranger in the flat hat is, during underground shifts, under Anodyne's operational command. Let's talk about what the tour looked like before it stopped being a tour. The first major attraction, the Intrapark Wellness Resort. The resort sits adjacent to what the brochure calls the gastric sea, a vast, slow-moving fluid body inside one of the Permian Basin Superorganism's primary digestive chambers. A space roughly the dimensions of a sports stadium with a ceiling that breathes. The resort is a legitimate hospitality operation. Rooms, a full-service spa, a restaurant serving food that has been brought down the elevator and has never, technically touched the organism. Congratulations! You have paid $340 a night to stay in a hotel room inside a stomach. The second attraction, the Amniotic Gland Complex, marketed in Anodyne's promotional materials as the Amniotic Thermal Springs. What the brochure doesn't explain is that these are not springs, they are glands. Specifically, they are a cluster of secretory gland structures within the organism's deeper tissue, producing a variety of compounds that the superorganism uses for its own biological processes. Anodyne's extraction division has been harvesting these compounds for pharmaceutical and industrial applications since the mid-1980s. The tourism operation is secondary. The main pool is wide and shallow and maintained at a constant temperature. The compound here is highly diluted, warm, clear, pleasant. Around the edge of the main pool, tastefully roped off, are the smaller pools. The smaller pools are not on the standard tour. The smaller pools have different concentrations, different compounds. At the end of each tour section, a blue telephone, wall-mounted. The sign reads, "For emergencies only." You take a photo of it for your social media. Very photogenic shade of blue. Your phone is struggling with the electromagnetic interference from a nearby neural cluster formation, but you get the shot. This is not an emergency. This is a tour. Hour 2. The deeper zones. The ceiling is lower. The walls are closer. The organism has a heartbeat. Low, deep, felt more than heard. A resonance in the walkway frame every 20 seconds. A pressure change your body registers before your brain does. Your guide has gone quiet. Your guide has been quiet for approximately 20 minutes. Your guide has been trained to answer biological questions by redirecting to the audio tour. Your guide has been trained to describe any wall movement as normal substrate activity. Your guide has been trained to not use the words emergency, evacuation, or danger without explicit authorization from the Surface Operations Center. Your guide is a customer service representative with a hard hat and a practiced smile, currently standing inside the Permian Basin Superorganism, which has never read the customer service manual. The instruction to describe everything as normal substrate activity was never written down. That was deliberate. Anodyne has excellent lawyers. And then, the bioluminescence shifts, blue-green to amber. It is 10:47 a.m. Per Anodyne's own internal hazard protocol, the amber shift is a warning level 2 biological indicator, elevated metabolic activity, increased secretory output, possible prelude to a peristaltic episode. The Operations Center has been notified. The Operations Center is understaffed today. The Operations Center will get back to you. The Permian Basin Superorganism will not wait for the Operations Center. The Permian Basin Superorganism does not know the Operations Center exists. Right? Wrong? Neither. The sedation system is calibrated for standard metabolic rate. The organism is not at standard metabolic rate. The secondary injectors in the lower zones require manual operation. The lower zones are where you are standing. 2 rangers attempted to self-authorize evacuation based on the amber shift. They were countermanded by Anodyne operations staff. Both were told their employment would be terminated if they initiated the alarm without authorization. Your guide stares at the wall. The walls are sweating. The amber shift was logged at 10:47 a.m. At 10:48 a.m., the Operations Center logged an internal message about shift scheduling. At 10:53 a.m., they logged another message about shift scheduling. At 10:59 a.m., they logged a message about the vending machine in the surface break room. The machine was jammed. It was a Snickers machine. This detail exists in the post-disaster documentation, in the same archive as the names of everyone who was inside the Permian Basin Superorganism at 11:09 a.m. At 11:09 a.m., the first peristaltic event occurred. The walls moved inward. The walkway frames buckled inward. The handrail separated from its frame. The fluorescent strips flickered and went dark. The organism's biological fluid, warm, viscous, the specific temperature of a fever, arrived immediately. You remember the blue phone. You run back through Zone 4. You find the blue phone on the wall. You pick it up. It rings 7 times. No one answers. The Surface Operations Center is currently managing the elevator shaft, the main access breach. You are on a different list. Somewhere behind you, in the warm dark, the Amniotic Gland Complex pools are rupturing. The maintenance fauna are experiencing their first sedation interruption. You remember the qualifier. Non-aggressive under standard sedation conditions. Conditions have not been standard for 22 minutes.
Here is what nobody tells you. In 2005, Anodyne Industries commissioned an internal risk assessment of the Permian Basin Superorganism's containment infrastructure. The assessment modeled a Category 4 peristaltic event, the kind of event in which every structural frame in the accessible zones fails simultaneously, as having a 12 to 18% probability during the window between 2006 and 2008. They did not close the park. The assessment was marked proprietary. It was not shared with the National Park Service. It was not shared with federal regulators. It was not shared with tourists. It was not shared with the guests of the Intrapark Wellness Resort, who had, in several cases, paid significant premiums for rooms with a gastric sea view. In 2006, 1 year before the collapse, the liability waiver was revised. The catastrophic substrate event indemnity clause was specifically broadened. You didn't read page 7. Nobody reads page 7. That was the assumption the legal team built the clause around. The people inside the pit who were not recovered, who are still inside the Permian Basin Superorganism, are classified as unrecovered personnel, not deceased, unrecovered. If a body cannot be retrieved from inside the organism, and the organism sealed the lower zones within 4 minutes of the first peristaltic event, it cannot be confirmed as a fatality. The cases are technically open. Somewhere in the documentation for the 2007 event, there is a file with your name on it and a status field that reads unrecovered. Not dead, just unrecovered. The superorganism's legal defense team working on its behalf. Below the gift shop and the snow globes and the children's book with the smiling face. Below the rubble and the perimeter fence and the flat West Texas desert. The superorganism continues. Heartbeat, digestion, slow biological rhythms in the dark. It does not know you were there. It never did. The math said 12 to 18%. Someone decided those were acceptable numbers. They updated the paperwork. They kept the hotel open. And now you're unrecovered.